Okay, let's start the second talk. The second talk, this session, is engineer from Dover University is going to tell us about the holographic description of negative energy states. So please start.
First of all, I want to thank the organizer for the invitation. So today I want to report the work in collaboration with my colleague in Donghua, Professor Da-Xin Li. So we studied the property of a negative energy state in the holographic setup. Here's the outline. First, I will give a motivation, and then I will give our holographic construction of the negative energy state. And then I will discuss some constraints on the negative energy we obtain from the holographic setup. And then it will be interesting to make a comparison with the result from previous theory. And then I will conclude. So this paper is our original motivation. We try to understand this old paper by Wojcinski, Susskind, and Thomas. Very old paper at 1999. And so in this paper, they discuss the gravitational wave coming from the center of the ADS to the boundary. And then they try to analyze what is the energy momentum look like in the boundary theory. What they found is that in general, the energy density is negative. Okay, and also they found that the energy density is spread out in the boundary with faster than speed of light. So that looked very strange from the field theory point of view. And so they try to make some explanation of how to describe this kind of phenomena from the CFT language. However, this looks very difficult. So in some sense, this is still a very active research area nowadays, trying to understand the local behavior in the bulk using the operator in the boundary. Because this is difficult, so my colleague told me that maybe we can first check whether the energy density found in their paper satisfy various energy conditions. So this become the main result in our study. So this is the first main result. We study the constraint on negative energy in this CFT or field theory view of the gravity theory. So we are asking whether they satisfy, for example, the average no energy condition, or whether it satisfies some quantum inequality. So I will explain this later. But the main idea is very simple. We just to check whether the energy density in this ADS CFT setup satisfy this energy condition. And this is interesting because usually people want more negative energy because in a lot of experiments, people want to reduce the quantum interference or to increase the quantum coherence. And however, there's no free lunch. If you want more negative energy, actually there's some bound how much negative energy you can obtain from the arbitrary quantum state. So this is, and also if there's too much negative energy, usually it will cause a lot of trouble in your field theory. For example, it may violate the causality, or it could create the transversible wormhole in your background. So that is very troublesome, so we want to avoid that. And certainly, we hope that the study of this energy condition could help us to understand how holographic principle work. That means how to to describe this kind of localized object in the bulk using the boundary theory. In particular, we want to describe how the gravitational wave packet travel from the center of ADS to the boundary. Okay, so let me give a very brief review of what is negative energy in field theory. So this is the definition of energy momentum tensor, just the charge that generate the space-time space-time symmetry. So classically, the energy density, I mean the zero-zero component of the energy momentum tensor is positive. However, in quantum field theory, in general, this quantity could be negative. So when I say energy is negative, I mean the energy density. If you integrate over space, then the Hamiltonian defined in a sensible quantum field theory still need to be positive, even though locally it could be negative. So negative just means it is lower than the vacuum level, vacuum energy level. There are a lot of examples of negative energy state in quantum field theory. For example, the split state, Casimir vacuum, and Hawking radiation. They are all examples of state that could produce the negative energy locally. So even though those negative energy break those local energy conditions, for example, this is the classical local energy condition is broken in quantum field theory, but fortunately, they still satisfy some average energy condition. That means if you integrate over some space-time region, you still get the positive result. However, even though the average energy condition is still satisfied, but we still don't want the negative energy to be too large locally. And in fact, there's some conjecture about, maybe it's not locally, maybe called semi-locally, some small region of space. If you want to create the negative energy, this conjecture tell you that you need to compensate this negative energy in other region of space-time. So this conjecture is made by Bolt and Roman in 1999. So in their conjecture, they say the negative energy, they call it principal. I mean the amount of energy you borrow from the vacuum need to be compensated by the so-called interest. I mean the positive energy you need to return to the vacuum in other region of space-time. So
excuse me, you say energy, so energy density or?
Yeah, it's mean energy density. When I say negative energy, I mean negative energy density. But if you integrate this negative energy density over some small region of space-time, you still can, if this region is finite, you can still get some negative value. And this conjecture will put some constraint on this localized amount of energy. Okay, so now we want to check whether this kind of conjecture is satisfied or not, or energy condition is satisfied or not in the holographic setup. And so this setup is made by, as I said, in the paper I referred earlier. So in their setup, they perturb the ADS, in this case ADS4, you can generalize other dimension. In ADS4, you perturb the trigonometry by small gravitational wave perturbation. I call it delta G mu nu. Okay, and so here L is the radial curvature for ADS, and the perturbation of gravitational wave is parameterized by this phi function. So there are they were considering a gravitational wave that homogeneous in the boundary direction and then propagate from the center of ADS to the boundary and then reflect it back. So in this case, you can linearize the Einstein equation and find the equation motion for this linearized field phi. So this is the equation motion for gravitational wave perturbation. And in this case, we choose this metric structure, this tensor structure to be transverse and traceless in the boundary direction. And it is 0 in R direction. Okay? So this is the solution. It will be very easy to solve this equation. So this will be the mole function, the normalizable solution for this gravitational wave. So you can think of this as a wave packet from traveling in the ADS in radial direction. So this phi omega is specified by the boundary condition of the gravitational wave in this boundary surface. So given a boundary condition, you can find the bulk profile for the gravitational wave. So now we want to calculate the energy momentum tensor. So use the usual ADS-50 prescription, particular in paper by Professor Gauss here, so I don't need to explain in detail. So basically, you identify the expectation value of energy momentum tensor by the induced matrix of your ADS space-time, and then you can get this result from the matrix I get earlier here. So use this matrix with this gravitational wave perturbation. You can calculate the energy momentum tensor for the boundary theory. So this is the answer. So G4 is the ADS4 gravitational constant, and L is the radial curvature. And here, phi omega is the function specified the boundary condition of your gravitational wave. So this part is called principal because it could be negative, depending on what is the boundary condition for your gravitational wave. It could be negative. So this is the amount of energy you can borrow from the equation. And actually, in their original paper, the paper by Kochinsky et al., they want to identify this as the energy momentum tensor for the squeeze state in the field theory. But I will not make that connection in this study. I will emphasize only on the energy condition. And then, as the quantum interest conjecture say, you must compensate this amount of energy by the positive energy in other region of space-time called interest. So they must have some other energy momentum contribution from somewhere in this gravitational wave background. So that is the contribution from back reaction. So here we consider the back react geometry. We just assume the back react geometry to be ADS4 black hole. So basically, it's a version of Birch-Cook theory. Tell you that if there's some homogeneous energy distribution in the bulk, then asymptotically the matrix will look like a black hole matrix. And here the black hole mass is determined by the energy of the gravitational wave. So because we already have the solution for gravitational wave, so you can calculate the energy coming from the gravitational wave. So perturbatively, you can calculate this energy, and we identify this energy as the black hole mass. So you can obtain the barrier geometry, and then use the same ADS CFT prescription, you can calculate the barrier contribution to the energy momentum tensor. And what they found is that this part of energy is always positive. So this part of energy density has 0,0 component and also IZ component. And this could only be positive because M is coming from the gravitational wave energy, as I calculate here. So this part is positive and is homogeneous in the boundary space-time, boundary space, and also time. So this part is called interest because it's positive and you need to compensate the negative energy you borrowed earlier. Okay, so we also generalize this calculation to the Lipschitz background because it's also interesting to know. This is the background for the non-relativistic CFT field. So it will also be interesting to know whether the energy condition is satisfied in those non-relativistic theory. So to generalize to this case, you just modify the metric by the Lipschitz metric. So there's another parameter called Z here. It's called dynamical scaling for the Lipschitz scaling. So for this kind of background, the boundary theory will have this kind of scaling symmetry. So basically, Z measure the asymmetry in the scaling between time and space. Okay, so you play the same game as before. You can perturb this background by the gravitational wave, and you can also calculate the energy momentum tensor. So it's very similar to the ADS case. You got this gravitational wave solution. Just you change some parameter, which is depend on Z, the Lipschitz scaling, and also you can use the same prescription to calculate the energy momentum tensor. Even though there's some subtlety here, because in the Lipschitz background there's a vector field, so you cannot just use the induced metric to calculate the energy momentum tensor. Anyway, people already found some way to find the conserved energy momentum tensor from this Lipschitz background. So we follow those prescriptions. You can calculate the energy momentum tensor coming from the gravitational wave derivation. So here phi is also the boundary condition for the gravitational wave. And you can also calculate the barrier geometry and then calculate the barrier contribution to the energy momentum tensor. So this part is called interest. So why we calculate this? Because if you know the energy momentum tensor, then you can check whether those energy conditions are satisfied or not. So the first you can check is whether those energy momentum tensor you obtain from the holographic calculation satisfy the average no energy condition. I think this is the essential condition because it's important for proving the focusing theorem, singularity theorem, and also the non-existent transversible wormhole. So we want to make sure this is satisfied first. But this is actually already proved in ADS CFT content in general that the energy momentum tensor you obtain using the ADS CFT prescription in general will satisfy the average no energy condition. But I think because their proof is very formal, so it will still be interesting to know how this works in specific case. And also their proof is not valid in the non-relativistic case. So I think it's worth to check whether the energy momentum tensor we obtain satisfy this condition or not. I forgot to explain that this is the integral of energy momentum tensor along null-like geodesic, and lambda is the parameter that parameterize the null geodesic, and k is the null tangent vector, and g lambda naught is the Smelling function, because if you naively do it, the integral is always diverged. So you need to do some Smelling, and lambda not characterize the scale you do the Smelling. Actually, these conditions depend not much on how you smell the energy momentum tensor. As long as the answer you got is finite, then you have degree freedom to choose this Smelling function. So to be specific, we need to choose the boundary condition for the gravitational wave. So this is the particular boundary condition we choose. We just make the gravitational wave to be localized at some finite time separation, finite time region characterized by this sigma parameter. And this power is just choose to make the calculation easier. Okay, so we choose the null-like geodesic to be in 0-2 direction. So we are considering the ADS code. So the boundary theory is in 2+1 dimension. So we just choose a particular null vector. Then you also need to choose the Smelling function. So this is the Smelling function we choose. So basically, you smell your energy momentum tensor by this kind of function. So this function is non-zero only between minus lambda naught and lambda naught, and its maximum is lambda equal to 0. So you may ask why we choose this particular Smelling function, and that is because we want to compare the result to the holographic calculation. It turns out that in the holographic calculation, you will have this kind of Smelling function. But as I said, the energy condition depend not much on how you choose the Smelling function. So it will be easy to check. You just plug in the result you obtain, and then take the large Smelling limit. Then you find that you always got the answer larger than 0. I forgot to mention, there's a parameter called alpha. I forgot. So alpha characterizes the straight or the magnitude of your gravitational wave. So they should have alpha here. Alpha don't have dimension. You just characterize how large is your gravitational wave perturbation. So in the end, the principal part will be proportional to alpha, and this is co-interest is proportional to alpha squared. So even though this is subleading, if you take the large knot limit, lambda knot limit, that means a large Smelling time limit, then the negative contribution will become negligible. So you always got a positive result. So this is actually related to the quantum interest conjecture, because you always have this positive energy that's compensate this negative energy part. And this part turns out to be dominant if you do the average of a long path. Okay, so now as I said earlier, even though the energy density is positive after you integrate over a long path, but still locally it cannot be too large. So we are trying to find some constraint on some semi-local energy condition. So just need to, because we want to put some constraint on the energy momentum tensor, so this constraint coming from the Gauss theorem, it basically say that if you connect 2 points on a boundary by time-like geodesic or time-like test in the bulk, then the boundary component also need to be time-like. Basically saying that. So using this geometric property, you can show that actually this is the method like Kelly and Wall, as I mentioned earlier. They proved the average new energy condition using ADS geometry, using the condition from ADS geometry. But we'll follow their procedure, but change a little bit. Then we'll get some constraint on local energy density. So I think I will just talk about the result because this would be very technical. But basically, we want to use the Gauss theorem. That means if you choose a particular time-like path in the bulk, so here I use the Lycon coordinate. So U and V here are the Lycon direction in the boundary, and rho is the radial direction. So we choose this particular path. So you can see here, we need epsilon to be small. I mean, we want this path to be very close to Lycon. So this would be a Lycon direction. And this is the path that go into the bulk. And this epsilon and delta are chosen to make the bulk path time-like. And then use the Gauss theorem, you can obtain this inequality. So this inequality tells you that if the bulk path is time-like, then the projection on the boundary also needs to be time-like. So you cannot go outside the Lycon in the boundary. So this plane is the boundary plane. So if you choose the particular time-like x, then the separation in the boundary need to lie inside the Lycon. So this is basically the condition. And take particular limit. I mean, you need delta. If I take delta approach 0 and U not characterize the length of your path. So basically, this is the length of your path. Then you get this condition. This condition. So as I said, I need to choose this particular Smiley function because this factor coming out naturally in your particular chosen path. And you obtain this constraint on the null. This is the null contracted energy momentum tensor along a particular time-like path. This is the particular time-like path in the boundary. So if epsilon going to 0, then this will approach a line-like path, and you will recover the average null energy condition. But we want to keep epsilon small, but finite. But then in this case, you will get this bound. So that means if you calculate the average energy and null contracted energy along a time-like path, then this number need to be larger than this small negative number. So here I changed the bulk quantity into the CFT quantity. So N here is the rank of the edge group, the error. Here, in this case, characterize the length of your path in the boundary. And tau naught here is the duration of the path measured in proper time. The proper time for your path. Anyway, and also we put in a particular example we choose before. So this kind of gravitational wave, you got this energy density, and if you identify so there's has a negative part. If you identify the magnitude and the largest value to be the magnitude of your negative energy, then you've got this value. And the duration of the negative energy can also be reached from this equation. And then you'll get this constraint from this energy condition. So this is so-called quantum inequality. It just tell you that in some specific region with area omega 2, the amount of negative energy would be constrained by this equation. I mean, if your negative energy is too large, then the duration for that energy need to be very short. So this is the constraint coming from the holographic setup. And I think it will be interesting to compare with the free field result. It turns out that people also study this kind of null contracted energy momentum tensor along time-like path. In this paper, they study the constant velocity time-like path, so they got this constraint. So VA is the constant velocity in the boundary path, and so if you compare, so if you change this V velocity using the parameter we use before, I mean the length of the path and also the power time and duration for the path, then you get this constraint. Very similar to our previous one, just the power is different. So here, because this number need to be smaller than 1, so that means holographically you got a larger number here. So that means the negative energy could be larger. So let me come to the summary. So we can compare our holographic calculation to the free field calculation. They both satisfy the average null energy condition. But if you try to constrain the semi-local energy density, then you found that the constraint could be less stringent for the holographic calculation. I mean, this power could be smaller. But this is in the path that close to the light cone. But for the free field calculation, it could be this constraint is correct for any velocity. But certainly there's some overlap. You just take the light limit, and then you can compare these two results. You still got the less constraint condition for the holographic calculation. So let me conclude. So conclusion is that average null energy condition for the holographic setup. But in strongly coupled system, you found that negative energy is allowed to last longer. And just point out the future work, we are interested in whether this kind of constraint is related to the description of the boundary operator that could describe the localized gravitational wave. But we leave it for the future work. Okay, so that is my talk. Thank you.
Any question? I'm just curious, that's the holographic calculation, did you take derivation?
Yeah, certainly, because we only consider the classical limit in your gravitational gravity background. So that is
So the bound is proportional to S squared.
yeah. So this is correct for large n limit.
Say that the bound is more smaller.
But this is also because if you have more degree freedom, certainly you are allowed to get more negative energy. It's also true in free field theory. So if you want to compare the free field theory, then this factor is the same. So you just compare the power with velocity factor. Yes.
Any question? If not, so let's start again.